Honor guard forward.
Welcome, everyone, to this historic occasion for sharing the spirit of America. This is part of the official celebration of our country's 250th birthday. At this very same hour, around the world, people are doing this. We're joining with thousands of people in Michigan, across the nation, and around the world to read the Declaration of Independence in public. We just celebrated the 4th of July as the birth of the nation, and the picnics and the fireworks are over for another year. So why are we here today on July 8th? Because it was on this day, July 8th in 1776, that Colonel John Nixon went out into the streets of Philadelphia and read out loud, publicly, the words of the newly adopted Declaration of Independence for the everyday people to hear. To read this document aloud in 2026 is to do more than just remember its words. It's to recognize the phrase that all men are created equal. And that phrase remains part of America's unfinished revolution. And that its next chapter still belongs to all of us. This isn't a reenactment. This is a renewal. Be among the voices that carry the Declaration's words beyond paper and into real public life. Gather, read, and proclaim the truth that equality and liberty are not abstract ideals. They are responsibilities that we share. Today is not only a celebration of the past, it is a reminder that the work of freedom, equality, and justice continues, and that everyone has a place in helping to carry it forward. Let us all keep working to secure life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for everyone here in Greenville, in Michigan, in the United States of America. Listen now to the words of the Declaration of Independence and reflect on what they have meant across 250 years and what they ask of us now.
Good evening. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separation and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impelled them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment over the absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has refused to assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of the large districts of people, unless those peoples would relinquish the right of representation in the legislation, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only.
He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with many firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislator's powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions from within.
has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and to eat out their substance.
He is kept among us in times of peace, standing armies without the consent of our legislators. He is effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial, from punishment for any murders which they should commit on inhabitants of these states.
For cutting off our trade with all the parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses.
For abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us.
He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy of the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have only been answered by repeated injury. A prince, whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant, is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren, We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, and peace, friends.
We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America, in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Now that we've listened to the Declaration of Independence so eloquently shared, I'd like to share some history and perspective we have. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These words from the Declaration of Independence still resonate today. In 1775, colonists and British started fighting against each other at Lexington and Concord. The next year, in 1776, the Second Continental Congress met at Independence Hall in Philadelphia to create a document, in quotes, to dissolve the political bands from the British controls over the colonies. These men were willing to risk everything on an idea that the world had never seen before. A committee of 5 was selected to write the document, but young Thomas Jefferson of Virginia wrote most of it, with suggestions coming from John Adams and Ben Franklin. He borrowed words from the late 17th century English philosopher John Locke. Jefferson wrote and argued, these God-given rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness cannot be taken away. This loss of right was the main argument of the Patriots, along with other grievances that were critical of King George III and the Parliament's treatment towards the colonists. It must be mentioned that not all colonists were in favor of these founding fathers. Many were loyalists or supporters of the Crown, and some were even indifferent to the cause. After many rewrites, they submitted the document to Congress, and after more changes, the Declaration of Independence was adopted July 4, 1776. The day after, on July 5, 1776, John Adams announced that yesterday was the greatest question we decided which was ever decided among men. A resolution was passed unanimously that these United States are and ought to be free and independent states. The 4th of July, 1776, will be a memorable epic in the history of America. I am apt to believe it will be celebrated by succeeding generations as the great anniversary festival. It ought to be commemorated as the day of deliverance from this time forever. I can see the end is worth more than all the means, and that posterity will triumph, although you and I may lament, which I hope we shall not, end quote. The document was eventually signed by 56 founders who were brave and became traitors to the Crown of England. The values of equality and unalienable rights stated in the Declaration of Independence were not achieved overnight. However, the goal of equality has been an incremental process continued throughout American history. To cite some examples, the 1848 Seneca Falls Conference in New York, when Elizabeth Cady Stanton and others wrote this Declaration of Sentiments, stating that all men and women are created equal. From Abraham Lincoln pushing for the 13th Amendment in 1865 to abolish slavery, to the 14th Amendment in 1868 that defined citizenship, due process, and the Equal Protection Clause, to the 15th Amendment in 1870, which forbid any laws denying any person the right to vote based on race, color, or previous servitude, and the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote. The goal to equality continues. There are other many historical events, there are other many historical documents, heroes, and events that expanded these rights. To name a few: United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, and the Civil Rights Movement, which led to the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and 1968, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Other individuals and groups have utilized these ideas from the Declaration of Independence. Jane Addams, Francis Perkins, Ida Tarbell, Senator Arthur Vandenberg of Michigan, John Lewis, Dolores Huerta, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and so many more seeking equality through the years. On this day, July 8th, back in 1776, when Colonel John Nixon first read the Declaration of Independence aloud in Philadelphia's State House yard, he wasn't simply announcing a break from Britain. He was voicing a radical idea that legitimate power comes from the consent of the governed, not from the crown or the sword. In that moment, a public reading became a public promise, one we will strive to keep. Here in this place, 250 years later, through this public reading of the Declaration of Independence, we thank the founders of our country for emphasizing these values of freedom and look back with gratitude at everyone who built the foundation for the United States of America. Let us also here promise to live and work to achieve the goals from this foundational document written long ago and look forward to the future we are building together.
a couple minutes? My name is Maureen Burns, and I've been working closely with Judy Gager. Judy Gager is right here. Let's give her a hand. She came to me about 7 weeks ago with this idea she'd heard about, and here we are tonight. So it's my great honor to introduce each of the readers to you. So I'll call your name, and I'd like you to stand up and stay standing. Okay, Phil Tower, a Grand Rapids radio personality and the station manager of 88.1 FM WYCE Public Radio in Grand Rapids. He's also a Greenville personality. Claude Johnson. Claude is on the Greenville City Council and a U.S. Army veteran. Annie Amidon, 2026 graduate of Greenville High School on her way to Grand Valley State University. Holly Crump, a life coach, a former teacher, and a true Danish girl. Colonel Jim Babbitt, U.S. Army National Guard. Adeline Burns, Girl Scout, just graduated from 1st grade. Laura Kohn Montoya, President of the Greenville Area Community Foundation. Dr. Matt DeKraker, Chiropractor. Dr. Bradley Barrick, President of Montcalm Community College, and he came here from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma 3 years ago. Mike Walsh, Principal of Greenville Middle School. Tim O'Brien, recently retired teacher and coach at Greenville High School, very loved by everybody. And Julie Momber, retired principal of Cider Educational Center. I have to thank a few people. You know, it was more than a few people, and it was a lot of work to put this together. Deb and Raj Christensen worked closely with us on decorations, flags, the scouts, picking speakers. If you wonder where the Boy Scouts are, they're camping. Lynn Cooper got the declarations to hand out for us, and if you notice, this is a nonpartisan event, which, let's have a hand for that. How cool is that? The Danish Cultural Center, Kristen Vidian, Zach Ensing took care of our sound system, Phil Tower helped. Megan Smith at the Fighting Falcon Museum did the great flyer we had. Corey Smith with the Daily News and the Daily News helped us. The music, Keith Hudson and his wonderful group. Larry Moss and the Voice of Reason singers are going to sing in a minute. WPLB, or I think it's called something else, but we don't know. Are you here? WGLM, and they're taping it, so we think you're going to be able to see it on Facebook. Judy Schmachtenberger helped. Bo Stevenson brought all the chairs from the Danish Cultural Center. Robin Walters, the Platte River Historical Museum, the City of Greenville, our security that's out here, the Greenville Chamber of Commerce. They came this morning and cleaned everything, even the bathrooms for you. And to everybody who came, because without you, this would be kind of empty. So it's wonderful that we're all here together tonight, and we can't thank you enough. Give our speakers another hand. This concludes our program, and I would like you to enjoy the Voices of Reason as they sing some patriotic songs, and you can mingle, you can sit in your chair, whatever you want, but we'd like you to sing along. So just do whatever makes you happy, and thank you for coming. God bless America.